let's take a look at some information and charts on Ripple for Brave New Coin. So I have to start here for Ripple, which is the SEC ongoing investigation, lawsuit, whatever descriptor you want to use here, that was dropped at the end of last year. And really, no matter what the fundamentals or technicals look like, ultimately, in the near to long term, Ripple for me is just a binary option. If the resolution of the SEC charges are mild or a nothing burger, right? A non-factor, then price is going to moon. Off that news, it's going to get listed everywhere. Let's say it gets listed on Robinhood. It's going to moon. It's got integer bias. It's got, we fought the law and we won on our side. Even if they just pay a fine and admit no wrongdoing, like EOS kind of did, I think Ripple price-wise will be okay. If there's some catastrophic disengorgement, they owe a percentage of total sales over the past 5-6 years, whatever it is, that may prove to be more catastrophic for Ripple than any other outcome. So keep that in mind as you're trading this and looking at this and forming opinions one way or the other on the price itself. Now, personally, do I think Ripple should exist or needs to exist? No. Do I think it's worth anything? No. But that's besides the point, really. If we look at the reason and rationale, kind of why they have had a series of class action lawsuits along with these SEC charges, it has a lot to do with this idea that they are continuing to enrich themselves in an ongoing ICO type of scenario where they are continuing to sell what they have put into escrow into the general public. So how this works is every month they unlock, I think it's 1 million a month, so 3 million a quarter Ripple, and that is offered for sale OTC. If it's not purchased within that month's time, it goes back into the escrow. So it's not like they're just perpetually dumping on the market. They're selling to the market, they're offering to the market. They're saying, here, we've got this Ripple available. Now they're also selling their own Ripple at whatever the quarterly report says. Nonetheless, all of this extra Ripple, over 50% of the total supply, continues to enrich Ripple the company. And again, we add to the list of issues. We have Ripple the company, Ripple the token. They say Ripple the token's decentralized. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's comical at this point. But this is part of the reason why, if you've never looked into this, why Ripple gets the flack that it does from most of the crypto community. Here is the Q4 markets report from Ripple, and they discuss their selling relative to Q3 and Q4. You can see that their selling increased, and they'll argue that this represents next to nothing in monthly volume, which may be true, but at the end of the day, they are still enriching themselves in a continuous fashion. The company's enriching itself off of what they deem decentralized token. So, I'm not a lawyer, right? What does my opinion matter? But this isn't a good look when any token does this. Link isn't alone, or Link isn't not in this company, by the way. Link does a very similar thing, as do many projects, where they will sell their holdings over time. So all this is part of why the SEC is going after Ripple, and their big argument against the SEC's charges is that they don't think they're a security. SEC says you might be a security, you might be an unregistered security, and then that's really what it comes down to. If we look at the validators, the key nodes on the network, again, the question becomes for the decentralization test, what percentage of these nodes are owned by Ripple, controlled by Ripple, or subsidized, paid for by Ripple? So these are the key nodes of the network. And then we have the total nodes in the network, 900-ish at any given time, most in the United States, and current stable version 1.7, with about a third of the nodes still on 1.6. So development-wise, they continue to roll stuff out. Like, that isn't the issue here. The issue has always been this unregistered security narrative and elephant in the room. If we look at transaction counts and active and average transaction values, transaction counts have increased slightly since 2017. Certainly not anything that looks super exciting. On chain wise, they sit around 1 million transactions per day on average. That hasn't really increased or decreased dramatically over time. So it's hard to look at that and be bullish. If we look at average transaction values, those are down significantly since 2018, up slightly since mid 2020. Part of this is just price appreciation as well. So those fundamentals don't look mega bullish. Neither do active addresses, really. Active addresses are elevated since 2020 perhaps, but they're just so noisy and all over the place. We have to really zoom way out on that moving average here to get some idea as far as what are the trends in the active addresses. For the most part, they've been unable to hold above 20K over a long period of time. So have active addresses increased since October? Yes. Have they ever shown continuous increases over time? Not really. If we look at NVT though, NVT continues to decline. This does include those escrow transactions. So it's probably slightly higher than what's reported here. But this is the picture you want to see in a vacuum. If you're bullish on something, you want to see increasing on-chain activity relative to market cap, but Ripple's market cap is something that's difficult to necessarily calculate when you're talking about circulating supply versus total supply and when you're talking about the escrow situation. So if we take all those caveats out of the picture, this looks incredibly bullish to see on-chain activity rising relative to market cap over time, even with prices where they are now. If we look at Google Trends for Ripple since 2017, big spike in late 2017, early 2018, and some mini spikes late last year and very recently. So again, if any of this SEC stuff is remotely mild or neutral or not incredibly destructive to Ripple the company, then Ripple the token should do quite well. You'll see Google Trends spike up. You'll see a mad dash for listings on any location that delisted Ripple. So the entirety of Ripple's future kind of hinges on this, in my opinion, in the near term, at least within the next 6 months. I think that they'd have some sort of resolution of those charges. And, it's probably most likely that they just pay a giant fine and move on. So if you're on that train of thought, then Ripple's probably bullish for you. Looking at technicals, if we look at the 1-year MA multiplier in the green line here and the 5 times MA in the red here, historically how this works is you buy in the green, you sell in the red, and Ripple's quickly approaching that red area around 210, and it already tapped it on the most recent high. This does have a history of mega extension in those zones, so 210 plus would be where I'd start selling this if I was holding some. Not investment advice, just a consideration based on this metric. This moving average will start to move up slowly over time. So the longer this takes Ripple to do anything, the better as far as upside potential is concerned. If we look at the 15 to 200 on the daily, along with VPVR and RSI, the recent high came close to retesting all-time highs, not quite there. I mean, if this is a successful outcome for SEC stuff, this could easily hit $5 to $10 just because of the madness we're seeing around everything right now. Does that make me want to jump into this? No, it doesn't. If this pulls a Doge, again, if this gets listed on Robinhood, crazy stuff like that, then yeah, this could just, the floodgates could open, right? Trend-wise, this is pretty overbought from the 200-day moving average. It hit the 3618 of the high to low in late 2020, along with those SEC charges. So here's an example. If you think this SEC resolution isn't bearish, just have a look at what happened in December when the charges got brought forth, right? That was a mega bearish situation for price there. And there's no bullish or bearish divergences currently, but you'll probably see a bearish divergence on any higher high here. If anything, in a technical vacuum, I'd want to see some extended consolidation at this zone for confidence that this is able to break highs with vim and vigor, much like this. This was a massive cup and handle, and the trend metrics supported that. So, in a vacuum, this looks okay for a continuation. I just think it needs some time. Daily Cloud to me looks like it. If this is a train, I missed it, right? You had your breakouts here, you had your breakouts here, and now it's just in its consolidation phase waiting for a decision, but it's not something I'd want to buy or get happy about buying at this price level based on technicals, possible M double top. I would want this to reset or quiet down a bit on the daily before I'd hop into anything like that. XRP-BTC had a massive W that broke up, and it's sort of back in this large VPVR range. Something else I haven't mentioned is Jed McCaleb continues to get paid out multiple millions in notional value of Ripple monthly. So I expect him to just continue to sell. Why wouldn't you, right? I mean, what would you do if it was you and you created a project or a part of creating a project, moved on, got awarded a lifetime sum of what accounts to probably billions of dollars? I would sell it all too, right? So that's something else to consider. But for the XRP BTC chart, it is back in this VPVR consolidation zone. If it can get above 3,300 sats, it's probably good for bullish continuation. Basically, it's got to get above this VPVR resistance, above the yearly pivot resistance, and above the local high resistance of 3,500 sats. From there, probably a 2x, probably the R2, somewhere around 6K sats, and another VPVR resistance zone here. And ultimately, again, if this is some massive bullish news for Ripple, it's not unrealistic to expect some crazy candle very quick in the near term relative to the news that's eventually just sold down. The 5200 cross is also bullish currently, so a bullish move here is supported by that cross. And even the XRP BTC 2-day chart, the 2-day cloud, is starting to poke above the cloud for the first time since late 2018, excluding late 2020 when everything sold off. So if you're bullish Ripple based on technicals, it looks okay. Fundamentally, again, to me, it's not a project I'd ever touch unless fundamentals were or technicals were highly compelling, which I don't think they are just yet. For Ripple, trend metrics are okay, but it just looks like it needs some time relative to everything else. And lastly, I'll just mention the ETH-BTC portfolio on Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management, transparent. You can see AUM performance, trades, allocations, deposits, withdrawals, no mins, no max. You can send ETH or USDC, and it sits in a smart contract, allows me to use that for trades within the parameters of the fund. We also have a DeFi portfolio that will hold 15 to 20 DeFi coins, and similar to the ETH-BTC fund, you can see AUM performance, allocation, trades. All this is done through DEXs, by the way. So that's all for this one on Ripple. Let me know. The difficult thing about Ripple is there's so many bots and astroturfing comments in most of the tweets and videos about Ripple. You don't actually know what most people think about Ripple, and then the other part of it is the people who are pro Ripple are just, moon boys in another parallel universe where Ripple's the best thing since sliced bread. So it's hard to really gauge public sentiment. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.